All right, let's talk about Calvin Ridley going to the Tennessee Titans of all teams. I think it's an interesting move. First, I want to talk about just what Ridley is as a player, because I think there's some interesting discussion there, and then what he could bring to Tennessee. So let's start off with something like this. It's going to be a zone coverage play. You see the concept on the screen and how it can work out, right? Kind of three players all in one area of the field. That is Ridley's route, and with a couple other receivers maybe holding Titans players more over the field, Ridley's route could potentially be the one that gets open on this play. When this play begins, watch Ridley and watch how explosive he is. I mean, he gets to his spot so quickly, but also not giving away what he's doing, right? I've paused it right here for a reason, because I wanted to kind of really show he isn't just running to a spot. He is a very good route runner, and he is very good at kind of doing the subtle things. And on this play, I'm not really sure if it would have mattered had he maybe could have just ran to a spot, but he still will go the extra mile, not give away what he's doing until he does it. Because now watch how well he cuts. Watch him move so smoothly, get over, and he is going to get a first down and then some on a 3rd down and 2. And these are the types of plays that you see, and it reminds you why he was a first-round pick for the Atlanta Falcons and why he was traded for a second-round pick just, a couple years ago, and how he's had the success. Quite frankly, when Ridley looks great, he looks absolutely great. And he also will show flashes of doing stuff like this, where it's going to be quarters coverage. The broadcast put a route on the screen, so we'll just use the one the broadcast put, although it's going to be a little bit more towards the middle of the field. But regardless, that's kind of what he's doing. It's a deep shot down the field. It is quarters coverage that the Titans are in. And watch how when this play begins, you're going to see that Calvin Ridley, again, just running a deep shot right here. But it's a good awareness of the situation and how you see the safety moved in. If the safety didn't move in, you kind of want to stay deep down the field. But since the safety has moved in a little bit, getting more over the middle of the field is probably the preferred strategy on this play, as there's going to be just a lot more of an opening there. And again, you have to have the chemistry with your quarterback to pull this kind of thing off. But Ridley does able to have, he has the speed and explosiveness to get by the corner covering him and also gets a little bit over the middle of the field. Smart play, talented play. Again, when Ridley looks good, he looks absolutely fantastic. And that doesn't just, work in deep shots down the field. It works in a ton of different types of plays. Something like this, where what's going to happen is it's zone coverage and you see the route that he's going to be running. Just a curl route past the first down marker. Okay, simple enough. But I kind of touched on his route running on the first play I showed you, but this play is really what's going to show how good his route running is. Lawrence is going to take the snap, and I'm going to pause it right here as you see Ridley. Again, what route is he running? Like, I didn't tell you, would you be able to know, oh, he's probably running a curl? Absolutely not. There's no way of telling, and he's so good at this part. And again, he fully sells it by running as fast as he can to this point, getting the corner to stay off of him. So when Ridley does in fact cut, he's wide open, makes the catch, and even, isn't so easy to bring down either. So again, you're watching these plays and kind of wondering, well, how did he not get more last season? How was he not just an absolute superstar? How is this guy not, why aren't we talking about him as a Hall of Famer or anything like that? Well, I think he is a good player. I mean, again, he just got a big deal, right? There were some critiques last season. It wasn't all perfect. Some inconsistency, and then just some weird things. Some things like this play, for example, where the way it's going to work is it's going to be a one-on-one matchup on the outside on a 1st down and goal. Also worth mentioning the situation. So, this game that we're talking about, the one that, it's kind of interesting. I'm showing Titans footage for the new Tennessee Titan, but this is a big game for the Jaguars. If they won it, they would have bet into playoffs. Them losing cost them the playoffs. And right here, they're down 8 points in a 1st and goal scenario. If they can score right here and get the 2-point conversion, it's a completely different game, and they would end up not being able to, to score here. But anyway, let's look at Ridley. When this play begins, the route ran by Ridley is great, right? Like, look at how open he gets. Really well done, really showcasing his talents. But here's the issue, and what was just kind of an issue all season for the Jaguars is Ridley and Lawrence never really felt quite right. Watching that throw is just a bit too early, and it is incomplete. If that throws a little bit further down the field, that's a touchdown. And the question is, whose fault is that? And the answer is, I have no idea. But it's a communication thing, so it's kind of both their faults, right? They never had that communication down, and they were, always kind of a little bit off right there. If they just, had the chemistry and they just made that play work, it would have been a touchdown. And like I said, that's a completely different game. Maybe they make the playoffs. And then this play is was the backbreaker, and this is definitely one that got a lot of attention. I paused it to just talk about the situation. So there's 2 minutes left. The Jaguars have no timeouts, and they're still down 8 points. So in a bit of a tough situation, but it's not over yet. And let's be honest, the Titans have had some bad moments this season, so you have potential here to make something happen. Watch as when Lawrence takes the snap, he's going to look down the field. He fires down the field, and you see Calvin Ridley is about as open as it gets. There's, realistically, if this is a good throw and good catch, this is a touchdown on this play. Instead, what happens is it is a dropped pass. I mean, that's kind of how I see it. It wasn't the easiest catch, certainly, but he got both hands on the football. Like, that's one that, at the very least, you would have liked to see him make, and the drops were an issue last year. This wasn't just one play. This was a thing that was an issue last season. So it's something that you hope gets cleaned up, and it happens, right? Sometimes receivers just have a season where they uncharacteristically have a lot of drops. That was kind of this season for Ridley, but that's just another negative that's going to get brought up. So those were kind of the issues. Some inconsistency, some poor communication sometimes, and some drops were kind of why why the Jaguars are deciding to move off of him. That being said, if you look at his numbers, for a guy whose first season was in 2018, this was his second best year according to passing yards, or receiving yards, I should say. He had that amazing 2020 season where he had, over 1,300 yards. He then stepped away in 2021, and then in 2022, he missed the whole season due to the gambling controversy, which is, he actually had requested a trade prior to that, got traded at the deadline. Then for, this season, still had 1,000 yards, still wasn't a bad receiver. He was a quality receiver. He just wasn't an elite receiver. And I think we're all kind of, we were all kind of assuming, okay, you had those first 2 solid years, but then you were great 2020, and then 2021 happened, and 2022 happened, but we're expecting you to be 2020 Calvin Ridley again, and instead he was closer to 2019 Calvin Ridley, which is still a good player. If you look at his Pro Football Focus grades, they're kind of right aligned with the yards, right? 2020 was that breakout great season. The other years, he's been solid. He's a solid contributor, but I also do have to say, I don't know if they're going to bring him in with the intention of him being a superstar level wide receiver. The Jaguars, they brought in Calvin Ridley to be a number 1 receiver. That's what they did. They're like, okay, Christian Kirk can be our number 2 now. Ridley's our number 1. Cool. I think the Titans still feel like Hopkins is their number 1. I thought Hopkins was good last year. And, you bring in Ridley as a number 2. Well, now, I don't know, can Traylon Burks be the number 3 in this situation? Is Nick Westbrook-Akine going to be the number 3 in this situation? Maybe you kind of, could even add a guy if you want to. But this is kind of a way to fill out the receiving core. And again, the point I kind of keep making is you want to create as good of a situation for your young quarterback as possible. Because even if Will Levis, is in a good situation and sucks next year, and then at least then he sucks, for one thing. You don't have to waste another year. And 2, okay, well then you draft another guy, and now you have a good situation for the new guy. Either way, it helps you to have as good of a situation for a young quarterback as possible. I think people say, well, wait a second, are you trying to compete or are you trying to not compete? To me, this is a move you can still make when you're in a rebuild. I don't think this is a move you only make when you're trying to compete. I think, at the end of the day, adding good players is important. Sure, he's 29 years old. Sure, Hopkins is, 97 years old. I get it. They won't be around forever, but they'll be around for at least the next couple years. So that's kind of, I think the main point throughout all this. But yeah. Those are kind of my thoughts on all this. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching. Also, Hopkins is only 31 years old. I would have thought he's way older. But anyways, yeah, bye.